Hello and welcome to How to Play Samba, presented by GatherTogetherGames.com. This video will cover how to play the card game Samba. The video will start with the general concepts and gameplay, and then get into more of the details for the game. The game is played with 2 to 6 players. To play, you will need 3 52 card decks with a total of 6 jokers. Each player is dealt 15 cards, 1 card at a time. When playing with 4 or 6 players, players will play with a partner. When playing with 2, 3, or 5 players, players will play individually. After the deal, the remaining cards in the middle form a draw deck, and the top card is flipped face up to start a discard pile. The object of the game is to score points. Points are scored by melding cards into sets. A set of 3 cards starts a meld and can be added to throughout gameplay. A set can be a group or sequence. A group is 3 or more cards in the same rank. A sequence is a run of 3 to 7 cards in the same suit. A group of at least 7 cards is known as a canasta. A sequence of 7 cards is known as a samba. The jokers and twos are wild cards. Wild cards can be added to a group of cards as long as there are twice as many natural cards to wild cards. A group cannot have more than 2 wild cards. Wild cards cannot be used in sequences. Going back to the hands that were dealt earlier, I have flipped up each player's cards for you to see. In an actual game, you will keep your cards hidden from the other players. The player left of the dealer is first to play. A player's turn consists of 3 phases: drawing, melding, and discarding. Player B will start by drawing 2 cards from the draw deck. After drawing, player B can lay down a set if wanted. Player B will meld a group of kings using 2 kings and a wild card. Player B will also meld a group of queens using 2 queens and a wild card. After melding, a player will discard 1 card to end their turn. Player B will discard the 3 of spades to end their turn. Play moves left to player C. Player C starts their turn by drawing 2 cards from the draw deck. Player C will meld a group of aces and a group of 4s. Player C will end their turn by discarding a card. Play moves to player D. Player D starts their turn by drawing 2 cards from the draw deck. Player D is able to meld a sequence of queen down to 7 in clubs. A player is also able to add to melds that their partner started. Player D will add queens to the queen meld started by player B. Player D will also meld a sequence in diamonds. Player D ends their turn with a discard. Play moves to player A. Players will continue to take turns drawing, melding if wanted, and discarding. The round ends when a player is able to get rid of all the cards in their hand. Player B draws 2 cards from the deck and is able to meld a group of 8s and a group of 9s. Player B discards their last card to end this round. Points for the round are scored based on the cards that were melded. There are different ways for points to be scored. First is card values. Each card has a value. Players will score points for the card values that were melded during the round and will lose points for the card values that were left in their hands at the end of the round. Next, the red 3s are scored. Red 3s can be melded as a single card. Each red 3 melded is worth 100 points if the team has at least 2 sambas or 2 canastas or 1 of each. If a team has melded red 3s without the required sambas or canastas, each red 3 melded is negative 100 points. If a player has a red 3 still in their hand at the end of a round, the penalty is negative 750 points, no matter how many red 3s are still in hand. Next is the sambas. A sequence of 7 cards in the same suit is a completed samba and is worth 1,500 points. Next are the canastas, a group of at least 7 cards in the same rank. If the canasta does not have any wild cards, it is a pure canasta and is worth 500 points. If the canasta includes a wild card, it is a mixed canasta worth 300 points. Finally, the team that went out to end the round gets a 200-point bonus. All the scores are added up and recorded. The first team to 10,000 points or more wins the game. If both teams reach 10,000 points in the same round, the team with the highest point total wins the game. A player is only allowed to go out if they have at least 2 canastas or 2 sambas or one of each. Instead of drawing 2 cards from the draw deck, a player may draw from the discard pile if they are able to immediately meld the drawn card into a group with 2 natural cards from their hand, or add the drawn card to a sequence that has already been melded. Once the initial card is melded, the player will take the rest of the discard pile into their hand and continue melding if wanted. A player cannot draw from the discard pile if the top card is a 3 or a wild card. The first meld you make must have a minimum card value depending on how many total points your team has. Black 3s can only be melded if the player melding them is going out to end the round. Black 3s can be discarded to block a draw from the discard pile. Red 3s can be discarded to block the discard pile. If a player or team melds all 6 red 3s, it is worth 1,000 points instead of just 600 points. A group meld can have more than 7 cards, but the only additional points come from the value of the card being added. A sequence meld can only have a maximum of 7 cards. Check out the Samba Quick Guide through the link in this video's description to help you learn as you play. That wraps up How to Play Samba. If you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up, and find more game tutorials by subscribing to the channel, Gather Together Games. Thanks for watching!